What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 8 of Fantasy in Progress, a point in progress Final Fantasy 14 podcast. Every time, so many P's. So many P's. I'm joined by my fellow guests. We got Frank. How you doing, Frank?
Good. I'm doing really good today. It's it's a beautiful day to talk about some Final Fantasy.
It's a day. It's a day.
It's a day. Yeah, maybe not that beautiful. It rained here in Chicago, so it was kind of eh.
I mean, we've had landslides.
Oh shit.
And flooding here in Vancouver.
Oh no. Okay, never mind.
Apparently, people have. I was watching TikTok and people were like, "Well, now we have a lake view now. Like we have a lake view now because it's just so all around like the other places are all flooded and stuff like that." Fee, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Harv. I'm happy to be here.
Yay, that's great.
Yay.
That is great. For everybody that does not know, this is a Final Fantasy 14 podcast. Each and every week, we took a little bit of a break, but we're going to be probably back to our regular shit for the next couple weeks, especially when Endwalker comes out. We talk about everything about Final Fantasy when it comes to Chocobo racing, up to rating, all that kind of stuff we talk about. You can watch this show live on YouTube. What? You can watch this show live. Not live. You can watch the show on youtube.com/pointinprogress. You can watch it in all the different audio podcasts as well. This week as well. We have to set that up. It's gonna be on a separate feed. It's not gonna be on Point in Progress anymore. It's gonna have its own feed on podcast services. This week we're gonna talk about Chocobo racing. No, just kidding. Not Chocobo racing. I don't think anybody's here.
Red Chocobos.
I don't think anybody's here done the Chocobo racing, have they?
No.
I think I've gotten into the tutorial, and that's about it.
It's fair. No, we're gonna be talking about ShadowBringers today. So this is the latest expansion, 5.0, and we're gonna be talking about the base 5.0. So we're not gonna go into the patches or anything like that. We're just gonna do from the beginning to the end. Overview thoughts. Fee, what did you think about this patch? This expansion, I guess.
Well, they definitely don't nickname this Depression Bringers for nothing. There were a lot of emotions throughout this expansion. It was I honestly, I know I've talked on this podcast at length on how much I love Heaven's Ward, but I think this is definitely getting up to becoming one of my favorites. I would probably have to say that I would probably compare them to the two, like having them sit at my first slot currently, just because of how in depth the story was. I know the person who wrote the main storyline is the same person who did the Dark Knight story, and that the job quests, and so there was so much going on, and I don't think there was any particular point where I'm like, I didn't enjoy this. I think from upsetting wise, I don't know if I would enjoy certain things that happened, but overall, I think I loved the storyline from start to finish.
I think they do skirt that line of it doesn't really sag in any part of the story, and for me, it didn't. There was no time where it was kind of like, man, I just want to get through these quests. Because it was all the quests were meaningful. They weren't really fetch quests. Were go kill 8 of these things, go kill 5 of this thing, and then that kind of type thing, right? So, I think once you get into the groove of what ShadowBringers is and what the story is as it unfolds ahead of you, it's just man, for me, it's I want to do the next quest. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens in the next quest. That kind of type thing. Frank, what do you think? What's your top level thoughts?
This is definitely the second to last season of the TV show. You know how there's always the final season, but the season before the final season is usually so fucking kick ass and awesome. That ShadowBringers is definitely that. The music in this is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
the rock, just what they use in terms of taking that trailer song ShadowBringers trailer song and like molding it into different like orchestral pieces throughout the whole thing. There's little hints of it throughout the story and everything like that, and I thought that was so cool. The story itself is pretty damn great. I couldn't really find much of a flaw in there that would that made me go, okay, this needs to hurry up. Like, I don't really care about this plot line, because all the plot lines that you get within that are pretty meaningful, and they blend really well together.
Yeah.
No, I had a blast with this. The fights were really good. The music was fucking amazing. There's one character in there that I'm still finding information out about, Emmett.
Yeah.
He's the main, he is the biggest character of this DLC, and damn, what a well-written villain. Well fucking written.
Yeah, it is one of those things where like it does take a writing to like a total shift, and like the writing kind of goes on a next level when it comes to this expansion, and just trying to weave in stuff that we hit in Heaven's War, for example, right, with the Warriors of Darkness that came over to our world, and then taking that whole story with Minfilia and sending them back. It like pretty much goes from there, and then we all of a sudden time jump into that area, like where they are, right? Because the flood has stopped. Yeah, the continuity is there, which is kind of crazy to tell. And then also the continuity from Crystal Tower from like 8 years before when you first meet one of the characters and stuff like that, which is insane as well.
Well, also, I don't know if you've done this dungeon, Frank, but have you done the Lost City of Amdapor?
I did.
Hard? Okay. I freaked the fuck out this weekend because last weekend I decided to run some with Harv, and I'm like, okay, I need you to help me run some of these. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, there's a sound I remember. Like, you go into the dungeon and then you start hearing this like high pitched like humming noise, and I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, Harv, come over to the lamps. And he's like, what? Why? And I'm like, come over to the lamps. And he's just like, okay, there's that humming noise. And I'm like, what does it sound like? And he's like, the sky's in like ShadowBringers. I'm like, the sky's in ShadowBringers. And then you go through, and then you're just introduced to the Sin Eaters and the Light Wardens and stuff in that dungeon. And I'm like, this is from freaking Heaven's Ward, let alone like just coming in, like not even just the like Stormblood. It was just just Heaven's Ward.
Yeah, the even the monster that you fight, right? You fight the winged lion, you fight Kurabu, which is like one of the bosses in ShadowBringers. It was kind of like a precursor, because it was just the experiments that they were doing, and experiments gone wrong, like that kind of type thing back in the day.
Yeah.
It is. Well, that's the thing. Like, they've set those kind of like those breadcrumbs for players to like kind of look at, and like the way that that Final Fantasy and Square Enix kind of intertwine all the dungeons, intertwine their stories together, is, I think, there's nothing like, I don't think I've actually experienced a story like that before in another game. Obviously, you have 8 years to do it, right? You have so many years to do these kind of things. You could go for like the long you can do like a long kind of haul with it, and then get those payoffs. But knowing that like all that stuff was like year 2 or so, like year 3 or year 4, and then getting those callbacks is really, really cool.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but this is definitely a different case with Final Fantasy 14 than any other game that I've actually played, because of the fact that you're constantly getting a story kind of added, right? Like, usually when you're invested in a story, like with a regular game, you're gonna have like at least 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4 if you're a GTA fan, 20 years before the next game comes out. And the difference between like this and like a brand new game with a brand new story that's continuing from another one is that with a new game, you're gonna have to constantly get new mechanics. There's a spectacle of like, the technology that's happened between one and the other. With this, since it's the same game that's getting a new story, every two or so years, right? Since, like,
it's about
each expansion.
It's about 2 years.
You're 2 years, which isn't bad when you think about it. Like, in terms of, like I said, people wait fucking 20 years for a game sometimes. You know what I mean? I waited almost 10 years for another Devil May Cry, but this game, you're getting that every 2 years, and you don't really have to worry about learning, like, oh wow, this is new graphics, or wow, new controls, or wow, new weapons and stuff like that. No, it's just you're playing the same character. You're constantly moving through the story every 2 or so years, and you're watching it all unfold around you, almost like it's like the movie versus TV show argument, where like you can watch a movie for 2 hours and it's one thing, then you have the TV show that can do more longer, and it's so fascinating that they're able just to do all that within this story and keep it flowing for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys jumping into ShadowBringers for the first time, what were your guys' like when you guys first saw the zones, when you first came into, I guess it would be Lakeland would be the first thing.
Yeah.
What was your guys' thought process going into that first zone?
I'm trying to remember what Lakeland even looked like. It's the one with the purple trees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first area.
Yeah. So Frank, I want to start with like what was your first thought of like, I guess not even the first thought with Lakeland, but when you were going from place to place, right? Because like there's a lot of story that they throw at you right away.
Yeah, because you're kind of cast into the middle of like a rebellion / like losing war, and you lost all your friends. Your friends are there, but like it's a world, right? Like, how are you gonna find your friends this way? And yeah, it has a very similar start to, I believe, ARR, or we might have debunked that already. I can't remember, because I remember there was like a guy with a beard. Yeah. And he looked very similar to the guy that you meet on the ferry going into ARR. Yeah. So I don't know if we debunked that or not, but that's what I remember it happened.
Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of like a shout out to like the beginning where you meet a guy and then he like introduces you to the area like, hey, but then it kind of tries to like make you realize very fast that this is going to be a completely different experience when they're like, hey, here's a limb. This is the guy you just talked to. So it's just like, RIP that dude. You should have been smarter. And then you're like, oh, so we're playing a different game now. Like this is there is
we're
going to
10 minutes in and there's a death.
Ironically, the game where you start off and there's like light is the one that starts like darkness everywhere. I mean, like ARR, it's lighthearted, but this one's supposed to be like there's light everywhere. Here's some darkness. You know what I mean? It's it's definitely that cool like parallel. But yeah, no, that area is cool. I love kind of like the light sky on the like really dark, almost kind of grayish ground, and that those purple lilac looking trees. Oh my god, it's such a cool aesthetic. And even I believe even like the rocks are kind of purplish. Like they're not gray. They're like they have a little hue to them.
Mossy, so the moss is purple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the leaves are purple and like pink, yeah, the moss is. Yeah. But yeah, no, that area is honestly beautiful. That's honestly more like cherry blossom like than any of the other areas that we got in like Kugane or any of those.
Honestly, yeah. There are some cherry blossoms in Kugane, but for the most part, it is like that area is kind of like I love purple more than I like pink. So seeing the purple trees and stuff like that was awesome. It's different, right? Because we never see this in any other zone. Because as much as I like Stormblood, I feel like the Stormblood zones are they're not as inspired as the zones that you see in this. Like, when you go into Amarang for the first time, yeah, sure, it's very deserty, but it's like, it's the red desert, right? It's different from Ul'dah. This is like, what do they call the red, like, desert, like, the red, like, clay stuff? It's like more clay than it is, like, sand, if that makes sense, right? Sophie, I want to talk to you about, because, like, I know you love Kugane. This is, like, Kugane is, like, your place to go to. Going into the Crystarium, what was like your feeling?
So for the first, like honestly, even like for the first few weeks, I'm like I was still going to Kugane, because I I already have it mapped out in my head how to like maneuver through Kugane. Like I'm just like, this is my city, this is my zone. But
Because
then
it's
the
so
more
fast to go from the Aetherite to like your
The
summoning
market.
bell and your market. Yeah.
So like that is literally it is the closest from the main summoning port to the actual market. So for me, not
Well,
only was the
Limsa
music,
is, but nobody wants to go to Limsa.
we don't talk. Okay, Limsa. Okay, they're
Look, don't knock Limsa, okay? It's
Okay.
ERP Central.
okay. So you go to Limsa at 100%, and then you tell me how difficult it is for you to get from point A to point B because it is terrible. As much as like I'm so happy that people enjoy Limsa, but I just can't get into it. But I started using the Crystarium a lot more, especially when it came to market stuff, because mostly I found myself like, okay, I'll be able to do stuff here and then we'll start MSQ. Or maybe we just finished off MSQ. And as you guys know, I spend a lot of my time in the game not doing anything other than just running around. And so I'm just very accustomed to just,
Yeah,
yeah.
can confirm that.
I mean, I
Yeah.
just run around in Gilmore half the time when I'm playing
Yeah.
in a circle.
So I like other than the one time that we ended during the storyline where it just had like this really creepy like intense music and I'm
Yeah.
like I need to get out of the Crystarium because if we're not going to do this like we're not going to continue, I'm going to just hear like do 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 do. I'm like I don't want that.
It's very anxiety
It's very-
inducing.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
spooky. Just come in there like I'm gonna check my retainer. Oh no, what's going on?
Is my
No, the
retainer
Crystarium
alive?
is stunning. Like I really I love the purple, like shocker, I like the color purple. So I was just like this is amazing. And then seeing all like the almost oh my goodness, the garden type of like my goodness, why can I not think of the words right now? But just all the glass that you saw, like you see throughout the Crystarium that you're able to see outwards. Even the inn, I really like the inn itself because I enjoy like I always like to go into a new city and check out the inn just to see what it looks like because they're all different.
Yeah.
And that one's really, really pretty. And I appreciate the fact that they utilize that a lot more because I find in other main story quests they don't utilize it at all. And so I appreciate that they took the time and effort to put in a lot of work into that
Yeah.
area because the windows have a lot of significance obviously to get a feel or understanding of what's happening in the world around you. But yeah, the Crystarium's really big, but once you get used to it, would highly
And seeing the beacon that you know is also a big thing too. Like the Crystal Tower
Yeah.
is something from that you're familiar with, so it kind of
Yeah.
makes it a kind of like a home away from home a little bit
Yeah.
in my mind.
I'm still not accustomed to seeing Faye and the as my retainer, and so
Yeah.
I always go back to Kugane to actually see my retainers because I like my retainers.
My
This is
retainers
weird.
are sell shit. I could-
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just get confused. I just get confused because it's just like it's the same person, and then I'm like, are you the retainer that I keep all my meat in, or are you the one that I keep all the stones in? Like,
What the fuck?
You have a
Fee,
meat? You have a meat
What?
retainer? How much meat do you
Oh,
have?
Meat retainer? Why do you just carrying meat around? Imagine that. Imagine somebody was born, raised, trained, and then you got a job,
Okay,
and it's like,
as a
okay, I'm a
heads up-
professional holder,
no,
and
Holder
he's like,
of
"Here, hold
meat."
off my fucking meat.
no. I have this meat, so when I start working on culinary, I have it available because I have like essentially just mats of it from traveling around and killing things.
That meat will never be used. Fucking mark my words.
Yeah,
When
just sell
Fee
that
takes
shit.
up a
Get rid of it. Get
craft,
rid of the fucking meat.
when Fee takes up craft, I don't know, but I don't see it
Yeah.
happening. I see
Oh,
like
my
that routine.
crafting is above 30.
Okay.
For how long? How long has it been there?
A few weeks because we've been focusing more on the
Yeah.
MSQ.
I mean,
Aw.
I'll give her that. I'll give her that. We have been focusing on.
Yeah, get off my back, Harv. Okay, first of all, she's also like my botanist, so I have like all the herbs and everything else. Calm down, guys.
No, no,
Calm down.
that's I have a minor botanist and a fisher as my retainer.
Okay, so then get
Yeah.
off my
Yeah,
back.
but I don't have a retainer full of meat.
Okay,
Yeah,
she's not
Just
full
the
of meat.
fucking meat. This shoe's
No.
full of meat.
She's got some
This boot's full
pepperoni
of
here.
meat.
She's got some fucking rabbit hair. Fucking.
But she's just walking around, fucking, so just some random
I don't
red
know,
chocobo attacks
maybe-
her. She just pulls out a hard salami out of her pocket.
Maybe someone needs a specific like food thing for a raid, and that's why I want to keep some of them before. Like at some point, I am going to go through and sell them. I have been selling quite a bit of my crafting materials off because I realized that it'd probably be easier for me to just sell it now, and then I can go back. That's
I mean,
not
you'll probably get it
associated
back
with-
at some point.
It's not associated with ShadowBringers, but I appreciate the fact that we took a moment to judge me on my
Judge you and
retainers.
your fucking meat goblin that you
Yeah. Inventory management. That's a whole podcast in itself,
Indara
right there.
Is, okay, Indara
Right.
is not just a meat gremlin.
meat goblin.
It's like you got some meats.
You can hear her coming. She just has it strapped on her. She's just like, she's got like a roll of sausage hanging around her neck over here. She's got some ham, fucking steaks strapped onto her arms.
She's got a couple.
shoulder
She's got those tickets where you have to like get a ticket to get the meat. But she's got one of those on her fucking hand.
She's a botanist. Leave
She
me
wears
alone.
a chicken on her head.
Yeah. The chicken. She has the chicken outfit on.
I'm bored. I'm bored. This I will leave this conversation.
Okay, so going through the story, our first big event happens in Amarang. That is where the first big one happens. It kind of sets the tone of what ShadowBringers is gonna be, right? Finally seeing Alizé, because like at the beginning you can go one of two ways, right? You can go see Alphino in Lakeland, I think it is. Is it Lakeland? We do Alphinos?
It's like the kind of deserty area too, isn't it?
No, that's
No,
Alizé.
it's like more of like a forest. It's like a foresty area.
He's in Elmore. He's in Elmore.
Yulmore, yes. Okay, yes.
Yulmore.
Yeah, he's in Yulmore. Yeah, he's in
There you go.
Kalusia.
He's
in
the
Kalusia.
artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do the artist story, and then you can do the Alizé story, which is in Amarang.
Which is what we did.
I think we went straight to Alizé.
Yeah, we went Alizé first. We went Alizé first. When I did my first playthrough,
were fuck Alphino.
when I did my first playthrough, I did Alizé second. But seeing the whole thing happening with Tasleen, it really kind of sets the tone of what this expansion is going to be kind of like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets
was-
really dark really quick.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that was the most horrendous thing they've done so far.
The crazy thing about that is that they said they toned it down because it was too horrific to put into this game. So they had to tone down what she looked like and how it all happened. Because you
I
see the
wanna know
actual,
what they did.
because you actually see the transformation, not like the cocoon, what it's usually it, like what they're in, but you actually see the transformation. And they said it's too much. We can't do it that way. We can't do it. We can't do it.
If Yoshi P, if you ever come across this, do more of that. Actually, go worse. Go fucking full. Have you ever seen The Evil Within?
Yes.
Go
Yes.
farther than that.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
No. This was enough as it is.
So, and then seeing her in Holmester Switch as a boss, it sets the tone of like what this expansion is. What was going through your head at that time for you? Like what did your expectation change of what this expansion was going to be after hitting that story beat?
I just remember sitting there and being like, they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this. I don't know if we were streaming it at the time, but I remember just being like, my face was just blank. I was just like, what the fuck? Because you didn't think they were going to go that hard that fast. Like, you would have assumed that they killed off the guy on the side of the road and just threw an arm or a limb. And then you see this particular scene and you're just like, okay, once again, they're just elevating on what you should expect and what's to come in this expansion. And they definitely did not fail to continue to do some crazy stuff during this expansion, that is for sure. But I don't know, I was just really upset. Like, I'm to this day, like every so often I just like to go to YouTube and see how people reacted to seeing that the first time, just because everyone has almost the same reaction of like, what the fuck? Why
Especially
are they doing this?
when the sword goes in. Kind of type thing,
Yeah.
right?
and then you're like, oh shit, like she's done for. And then having to go into the dungeon, I understand that I'm a tank, and it's apparently a easy job to some people, or they think it's an easy job, but being the first person to have to go and go and attack her, I didn't want to do it. There were multiple different fights in this expansion that I did not want to do, which we will talk about, but that was one of them, and I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like, obviously we need to continue, and you kind of have to face that almost like failure on your part. It's like you failed to, like, and obviously it could have ended up worse, or we could have saved her, but at the end of the day, it's like that is one of our failures, which was letting her get attacked. And so it just really hit hard when we went through that dungeon, and I'm like, I don't really want to do this. I remember running back down the road because we went up, and then Frank was chasing me. This happened a lot during this expansion where he'd
did.
Well, you
be
got
running,
chased.
and he'd be like,
Yeah.
Fee, come back, get back here. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. And so this like small cat boy is chasing this giant Rogadin as she's running away. And it's just like, come back here. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. And
You have to fight.
I don't want to. But it was overall, it's great storytelling, because if it wasn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and we wouldn't be thinking about talking about how great this overall expansion was, because they put in that effort and thought of how do we make people feel uncomfortable, obviously not pushing the limits, but making people really think from the beginning to the end.
I do agree with that. Going on to the flip side, Frank, we go to Alphino's side, right? We got the whole Yolmore thing that's going on. Them eating the bread, the butt bread, as you guys all called it, as we all called it. Yeah,
that thick ass fucking bread. I
Yeah,
didn't even
the
know it was
thick
bread.
bread.
I thought it was like a peach or like a fruit or some shit.
exactly.
Yeah.
There, we see a glimpse of Vothri, right?
Mhm.
What did you think of your first thoughts when you saw the character?
I'm gonna
and that
shoot this
cutscene?
man in the face. I'm gonna shoot this man in the face. No, I've seen gifs of him before. I've seen little pictures of him. I was always wondered who or what kind of significance he had to the story in terms of really big significance to Shadowbringers. Yeah, dude, I just want to shoot that guy in the face. He's such an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always that one guy who's just obviously in on the whole thing, because at least with the Alizé stuff, it kind of sets up yo, this is the environment your friends have been in, right? Like, they've seen some shit. People are just straight up dying for real, actually, not just some oh, I hit my head in ARR or these other expansions. No, people are fucking straight up dying. And it sets that tone. So then when you get to Yulmore and seeing all these people happy and carefree and acting as in their own little pocket of a world that is dying and losing a fight to eventually just go away forever, it's such a cool little contrast. Actually, I'm really glad that we did Alizé first, Alphino, because if we did Alphino first, it would have kind of dulled the whole Alizé part a little, because we get that feeling of oh man, shit's fucked up, and then we get to Yulmore and we're like, guys, do you guys even know what's going on outside?
Yeah, because they're all living in their own world, right? Even
Yeah.
the people that are topside kind of reminds me a little bit you guys probably won't know, but kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy VII, where when you're in Midgard, you have topside and you have bottom, right? The people at topside, that's the rich place. That's if you're a good standing citizen, you have money. You don't know what's going on the bottom of the plate.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going on there. That's where the slums are. That's where that's where you put people that have broken the law and all that kind of stuff, right? People in Yulmore is the same way. They don't know what's going on out there. They're eating their bread, their butt bread, and they're just just doing their thing, right?
Double cheeked up bread on a
Yeah.
Thursday afternoon.
Exactly. And even when you go into Yulmore, right, you have to go through these little procedures that you have to disinfect yourself, shower, and then have a good scent. And that one cutscene that you see with the girl that can't sing anymore, and they're just like, well, you don't have any use now, so we're gonna get you to transcend. Obviously, everybody in that place thinks that transcending is like the best thing ever. It's just you becoming a sin eater at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like it's like those little things that make it feel like, man, these guys just don't know what's. They're just so brainwashed. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they're indoctrinated.
Yeah, exactly. Jumping from there, we went to the Fairies. Right? We went and joined the Fairies. We're gonna go see Oriange. And we hit this place. This place was weird to me because when it comes to fairies, it's either hit or miss, honestly. They are kind of like Muggles to me, where they gotta be done right if they're gonna be very interesting. And I feel like they nailed it with them because just the way they talk, just the way they are, it's consistent. They have their own rules, like that kind of type thing. So Frank, what did you think of this zone? Like, what did you think when you got to this place?
I thought it looked beautiful. Honestly, it's probably one of the more beautiful areas of this whole game. Just the plains with all the flowers on it, all the things flying around it, the trees, the stone architectures, the horizon, especially at night. That area looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, once you take the Titania out, and you see the night sky, you're just like, man, this game is fucking beautiful.
You don't realize how good that game looks at night when everything is just like ungodly white bright light.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love the fairies. I thought they were hilarious. I like them. Like the Muggles were fine, but like they were always just like nice. Like they were just cute and nice. Whereas the fairies are cute, nice, but also very mischievous and will do some like crazy funny shit. Which made the quest so interesting to kind of go through. Usually when it comes to the Moogle quests, I think we're all in agreement here. We kind of click through those and we mention add too much to the story.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I feel like they got a fine balance of it not overstaying its welcome. There was enough missions that by the time you get to the cool stuff that you want to do in these usual areas, like fight or instance, they kind of throw those at you pretty quickly, and it's not as bad as like a Moogle.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it might have been different if Muggles had a voice, but I kind of don't want to hear what they sound like because that sounds terrifying.
Imagine Toad from Super Mario Brothers, but on LSD.
Koopa? That was my Toad impression. B, what was your thoughts of the Pixie Plates? I always forget what it's called. Ilmeg. That's what it is. That's what the area is called. Ilmeg.
Honestly, it's probably one of my least favorite of this expansion. I'm not gonna lie. Here's the deal. I really do not like the sound of the sky being consistently like in sunlight. Like that low humming noise. I'm not a fan of that noise whatsoever. So we had finally got into an area where there wasn't that noise anymore. And then they take us and out of that situation, out of the night and threw us back into not only the brightest place I've ever seen probably in a video game, but then they added on top of it light fog. And I'm like, okay,
oh yeah,
so
that's
not
right.
only do we have this intense consistently happening all the time, but also having like this shimmery sound at the same time, on top of them being like, oh, we're not going to let you go through. You'll have to collect all these. I'm like, collect them yourself. You can fly.
Collect them yourself, you asshole.
They just wanted to play a game.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll play a game. It's called How Far I Can Throw These Fae People so they can like, because I don't know. I was just like, I think it was the specific time that we were playing this game, how late it was when we got to this area, and I was just like, I am not feeling this. I'm not vibing with this area at all. I don't know. It just, out of the areas that we did throughout this expansion, I don't think it was one of my favorites because they also include the entire storyline with these, what are they called?
Fart people.
They're the like ones with the big
Oh.
ears.
Ah, crap! I forgot. But it's like it's the race that Backlug is a part of.
Yes. So
Oh yeah, there's like a
that's
war
also
going
in the
on or
same
something like
area.
that, right?
And so that just wasn't my jam. Like I think that was probably, if I had to
New
say a
Mo
down,
is
yeah,
what the thing is. Yeah.
if I had to say I had a low point in this expansion, it would be that area. Like seeing that glow up, sure.
Well,
by
for
all means.
Urianger,
The Oriange glow up, I'm like,
Oh god, he's hot now.
my man looks
Hello.
like hot AF.
but
Characters
the
just getting
sideburns,
hotter.
why?
Sideburns just make it better. They're just about. They're
no,
just a
it
part
does
of.
not make it better.
They're part of the package. Fee. They're part of the package.
Oh my god. Well,
He's got the
okay. So
chops,
if I
he's
have to
got
deal
the-
with it, but no, yeah, I don't know. It's just I think it left like a bad vibe with me, and so throughout the rest of our time in this isn't Olmec. Is it Olmec?
Ilmeg.
Ilmeg. Okay, I was right. It wasn't as enjoyable as other areas, and that's saying something because we watched a girl get stabbed and vomit out light
Yeah.
in an area, and
In Amarang. Yeah.
yeah,
she
in
couldn't
Amaranth.
hold her light, you know.
No, but I think the dungeon there was amazing.
Yeah,
The
Dun
dungeon
Mag.
there
The dungeon was good, and then the primal
Yeah.
fight that you do for the Light Warden with Titania was really awesome. And it's
Oh,
based
absolutely.
off of Midsummer Dream, I think. That's what the primal is based off of too. So it's
Yes.
really cool. I totally forgot. I totally ran over. Like I totally glossed over Ranjit because I know Ranjit is a person that just kind of pops up here and there.
Oh yeah, this
throughout the
fucking
story.
Guy. Here we go again.
Ranjit.
Yeah, the monk, the kung fu guy.
Yeah,
He's the
and
one
then
trying
got
to,
the little
like,
snake
I
with
him.
him.
bought
Ophelia?
him out because we threw him
Yeah.
into a pit and then he came back and then we kicked his butt again and then he's like, I'm back again. And I'm like, you're
And
like
then
that girl from freaking Stormblood. I'm sick of your shit. And
And then
then
he turned into a dragon or some shit. I
He
don't
kind of
remember.
reminds me of Xenos in Stormblood. Like as in like he
Yep.
keeps coming back. Like he keeps coming back. You have to
And
keep
then
fighting him.
it's an impossible
Xenos,
fight.
But I
him
think-
coming back,
But I think his dialogue and his like delivery is so much better. Like when you actually have a cutscene with Ranjit, I feel like it is a very good cutscene. Like the way that he
Yeah.
delivers his lines, the way that he talks about like what his duty is and all that kind of stuff too to Vothri is very interesting.
because I
Yeah,
know you
he's
talked about how like what you thought of him while we were going through Shadowbringers. And then my thought process was, are we watching the same cutscenes? Because I'm really sick of this guy's shit. Like, I don't know. I think after dealing with like characters that have almost like it's not a Napoleon complex. It's more the lines of like, I feel like I need to have a soapbox to stand on and then specifically talk about how I feel like things should be going on, or I don't know. Everyone else in this expansion, I understood their specific role and why they did the things that they did.
You understood their
I am
motivation.
I do not understand his motivation other than I'm following a guy I don't like and doing things I don't like to continue things I don't like. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who are you?
Well,
Like,
he what is he? If I keep in mind, I don't really remember much of that part of the story. But if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, he was the original mentor to like another Minfilia. She died. He got all like emo hopeless, like, oh, woe is me. New Minfilia comes along. He's like, well, shit, I ain't having this happen again. I am not going to let Minfilia die on my watch again. So then dedicates his life for Minfilia to do that, because if
Join us.
Minfilia is there, then everything's kind of at bay or something like that. Like they won't completely destroy the world. It's kind of like a weird agreement or some shit. I don't know. He's doing it because the ends justify the mean. Like Minfilia is alive.
Yeah,
so...
he is the ward of Minfilia. It's like it's like he's the Thancred of this world. Really, that's what it is.
At least that's what I remember. Honestly.
No, that's so so whenever a Minfilia comes up, he is the general that leads the army against the Sin Eaters, alongside the incarnations of Minfilia.
Yeah. And he's seen her die so many times that he's just kind of brain fucked.
Yeah. He's got his own kind of own problems that are happening up there. And he thinks that he's the only one that can actually like keep her safe.
Though I will agree with you, Effie, it's not really well conveyed, and he does kind of come as a dickhead. And I'm just like, bro, I'm so sick of being railroaded with these damn fights that I know I'm not going to win. Because it's the second fight in the whole DLC. You're not dying here, Ranjit, and neither am I, so let's just end this fight. They don't do it as long as Xenos, though. They don't make you go like 50% of the health.
Yeah.
They at least give you a little bit of credit for your time. There's like 20% health in the fight ends, so it's not that.
Yeah.
I still hate being railroaded.
So while these things are also happening, we always go to the inn. We always see Ardbert.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's happening, right?
So there are a lot of threads that are being woven as you play this game, as you go through the story for ShadowBringers, which is why I love how complex the story gets. ARR is pretty one note until you get to about the endish. Then we start like diverging a little bit to different things, and Stormblood kind of converges everything together again. And I feel like Heaven's Ward is the same way too. It kind of converges everything. And then when we get to Shadowbringers, we start diverging again of different ways that this story could go. So seeing him and him being so confused on why he's still there. Like, I know a lot of people didn't like those guys in Heaven's Ward, but like seeing him in Shadowbringers just had like a 180 for me. It was like 180.
Oh yeah.
Like I was looking forward. Writing. Yeah, I was looking forward to every time I saw him.
Yeah, that's the beauty of good writing for these characters. You know what I mean? I really like to see, because if they can make us 180 on Ardbert, I 100% think they could make us 180 on probably one of the most hated characters of the series, and that's Lise. Yeah. If anybody can make Lise lovable, it's the writer of this DLC, because goddamn, I thought Ardbert was a Chad, but he was kind of a dick, and I'm like, I'm so sick of you already. And then in this DLC, man, he's Brobert now.
Brobert.
And
it's also like the familiar thing. Like every time you go to the inn, you know you're gonna get one of these cutscenes, and you're just like, all right, let's. It's like a rhythm that they have in this game, and I really like how they kept that going. Yeah. Throughout the DLC.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad they brought Ardbert back because like other than like the cutscenes that you get to talk to him in, you don't necessarily get a lot into his insight other than my world is gone and I'm sad.
Yeah. But you see him a lot if you pay attention to the scenes. You see him in the background as you kill Light Wardens. He stops after a while, but he is there. He
stops playing peekaboo after a while.
Yeah, once he actually confronts you.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is a warrior of light. You don't really have anybody who's kind of on your level in terms of like who you are in your world other than Ardbert, right? And it's fascinating because it's kind of like almost since he is technically you in a way, just in like a different world, you get a piece of yourself that you can't really get through normal story. Like your character doesn't talk. We talk for our character.
Yeah.
He or she has no voice. So we don't really get an insight other than who we are as like a person, obviously, because of the dialogue choices you pick. However, through Ardbert, since he is a warrior of light, you kind of get like the feeling of what our character must be going through sometimes. Like, hey, like there was one conversation where they're sitting there and they're talking and they're like, hey, this is a shitty situation, right? But we've been in shitty situations before. We've done this before. Our friends are gonna like. our friend saved us. It's not going to be any different here. And you know, we just fight through it. We just keep fighting, and you never hear your character say that, but you know damn well when Ardbert says that, that's exactly what your character's thinking.
Yeah, your character's
on the inside.
Yeah, your character's feeling that.
And it's a cool reflection of what some of the things the Warrior of Light probably wants to say, but can't, obviously, due to reasons. But yeah, it's a cool little reflection into like your own character. You learn a little bit about your own character a lot in this DLC.
That is true. Yeah. I agree with that. I agree. He's kind of our conscience, right? It's like what we're thinking is kind of what he's aligned with, and it kind of gives us kind of some sort of direction in a way. After this, we go to the best place in Shadowbringers V. Lahi. So Lahi is infamous or famous in Final Fantasy because of right when you get in, it just fucking bombards you with the Lahi, and the beat is so good. It is just.
What do you Canadians say? It hits like a Mack truck.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, continue.
No. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was gonna say because around before I started playing Final Fantasy, it was actually kind of popular on TikTok for a little bit, and so whenever Harv, when I first started playing, I'm like, so Harv, when does Lahi happen? He's like, not for a long time, and I'm like, but Lahi though, and he's like, you have to get the Shadowbringers fee, and so I would. Every so often, like Heaven's Ward, I would ask about it, Stormblood. And then I remember one of my very first questions before we started that night was, so when do we get to Lahi? And he's like, Fee, it's not until like the end of Shadow. I'm like, this is the same thing you used to do in ARR to us when you're just like, oh, we only have 5 more quests. And then we're like, it's 10 quests, dude. And you're like, but there's 2 quests left. And I'm like, sir, this is not okay. And so when we finally got it, Harv is just like, Fee. And I'm like, I know Harv. And then I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah.
I don't even want to
now understand what you were. I now understand what you were doing back then. Now that I think about it, you were telling us how many quests were in that little patch, not how many quests were to that thing.
Yeah, I usually want to break down the quest because there's always like stopgaps between each thing, and like getting them more bite sized. Because like when you look at Stormblood, when you look at A Realm Reborn, that's a lot of goddamn quests. That's a lot of quests to get for them. So, but yeah, we got to see Lahi, we got to hear Lahi, and we got to meet up with the one, the only, the Bay of the Scions, Y'shtola. And her situation that is happening over there. She's been here probably the longest. I forgot if she was here for 3 or I think Oriange has been here for 5, maybe.
It's so the very first person that came over was Thancred 5 years ago.
5 years for
and
Thancred,
then it was Oriange and Y'shtola at 3 years.
Okay.
And then
it was Alphino, and then it was
Alphino for 3 years, and no, he wasn't there for 3 years. He was there for like 2 years. He was like in between, and then it was Alize.
Yeah. So she's been there. She's been working with Runar and the crew, and you do like this whole kind of beautiful story of like their tradition of like, and then you also solve one of their mysteries about somebody that passed away and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's a cool little side story that you got to go through. It I like these kind of things where you have to do quests for the people that you're there for, because you kind of get like a foundation of what that tribe or what the society is all about there. And I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. The next place we go to is Twine, which is the whole freaking cart thing. The cart thing.
Oh yeah, the fucking train thing.
You make the train. I'm gonna skip over that entire part.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go right to where we finally see Minfilia again. And we have that crazy cutscene with Reen, that isn't Reen yet, and Minfilia. and
Mhm.
Thancred. Well, Thancred's there, but he isn't. He's not
Yeah.
there, but he's there. That was one of my favorite cutscenes, mainly because like we don't know who this Minfilia is, and we finally have like tangible, like she's part of the group, and we finally get to like accept her in the group, and she's like there, and she has a name, she has an identity, and seeing that cutscene with Minfilia was freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing her again was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen her since Heaven's Ward.
Yeah, it's been a while. We didn't talk to her during Stormblood. That was all everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this scene was really important, and it was kind of nice to see almost like at this point it's been 2 expansions of Thancred. Either we haven't seen too much of Thancred, and then when he was around, he was still kind of just upset about the entire situation about Minfilia. And I know in some cases he was blaming himself. And so for him to have like some sort of, in some way, closure, and then realizing that the Minfilia that he knew and the Minfilia that was in ARR, and even before that when they were on the streets and he was what is it? My goodness, a playboy and stuff like that, and he would like hit on all the women and stuff like that. He's definitely grown from ARR to where he is now. And I think this is what his character needed for him to be able to move on and be able to continue. And so it was really nice to have that, seeing him have that opportunity was really important. Like, I was really happy because I know it's been a very long time, even as someone who's played the game in such a for a very short period of time in comparison to everyone else. So it was just nice to see a friend of ours finally get some sort of, even though it was upsetting and we got to see some flashbacks, but it was an important thing to happen.
Yeah. And it's a big character moment for Thancred as well. Big character
Yeah.
moment for him. Then we go to Mount Gulk. This is where the whole Atello stuff happens. We go into Mount Gulk and we go up and go fight Vothri. He's the last Light Warden that we need to kill.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the best dungeons in this entire expansion. One of the best ones. Because as you're going up, you could feel like things are changing as you're going up this mountain. Right? Until you get into this paradise of just white floors, walls of like gardens and stuff like that. And just all the enemies turn into like, sin eaters, and they're all like pure white enemies and stuff like that. Frank, what do you think about this dungeon? What like when you're going up, what did you expect?
I don't know what I expected. Honestly, I expected a badass fight. It's about time we finally shot that dude in the face, and it was like with all of these dungeons in this expansion, especially the first one, they're kind of hard. They're not really all that easy. You kind of go through them, and you're gonna lose a few times because at least before that we were kind of over leveled for. Now we're actually hitting levels that will be around our level, and by this time we're already about level 80.
Yeah.
So this dungeon is just filled with sin eaters, but it's kind of cool because there's a lot of those sin eaters that you kind of fight on like more of like a boss or mini boss type field are just like now mobs, kind of showing you that like we've definitely grown in strength at the cost of us dying very heavily of light poisoning because we've been absorbing too much light.
Way too much light.
And then our I know I thought this area was super cool, especially seeing like how high we are in the air. We are literally, not literally, but like figuratively in the heavens looking down on people, just as Vothri I think would have probably wanted.
I mean, that's probably just his look at everything, right?
You're all ants to me.
Yeah, and he's up in the sky, and everybody kind of worships what he's doing, kind of type thing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that and then the fight.
Yeah, then
super fun.
The Crown of the Immaculate is the actual primal fight that you do Um, it's the it's the second last primal fight. It's the second primal fight that you do. And you fight Vothri. The first phase, I don't know, like what. What were you guys' expectations of this fight? Like, what did you guys expect him to turn hot AF?
Honestly, we should have, considering everybody's kind of blow up within the series at this point. I mean, if Irion J is one day it goes from goggles wearing weirdo to sleeveless Adonis, then I think anything's possible at this point.
What do you think, Feek?
I wasn't expecting what happened. That is for sure. Because I was excited to see him dead, or what we thought was dead. And then him being like, no, nay, I am going to become this very attractive creature, and you're just like, why are you
like this?
Why are you like this? So why did you live the other way for a very long time?
So this is the way that I think about this. I thought about this a while when we were doing it. It's like when you kill him, you feel like he is a person that has just inherited everything. And, he's one of those fuck boys where, like, he's an inherited person and like he doesn't know how the world works, right? How the real world works. And when it doesn't go his way, he complains. Seeing him in that form, the second form where he's like hot AF, it reminds me of that. It 100%. When you actually beat him, he's just like, how could this happen? Like, what? This is not right. This is not how this is supposed to go. Like, this is supposed to be me killing you. This can't be right. And it kind of like doing it again. It kind of like really did solidify that in my mind.
Yeah.
When you're fighting. Then so I totally skipped over Emmett Selk during this entire time because this is
he's kind of like
scene.
a second story.
He is a side person. Like you meet him in the Crystarium for the first time, and you find out that he is Emmett Selk. You guys have heard about Emmett Selk a lot because you cannot escape this guy because every fucking Reddit post you see, every post of Final Fantasy 14 you see has something to do with Emmett Selk.
Yeah, that wasn't very Cash Money of you. Or what is it like? I don't consider you alive, ergo I will not be guilty of murder. Or I will not feel guilty if I murder you.
Is that one of the memes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I posted it earlier in one of the chats.
So what did you guys think of Emmett Selk? Up to the point of before the Immaculate fight, before the crown of the Immaculate.
I'm gonna hand this off to our resident screenshot expert, Fee. Fee has at at least maybe a gigabyte of Emmett Selk.
I need to ask: are there more images of Emmett Selk or Amric?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I think at this point,
oh no,
it's probably Emmett Selk, mostly because we've dealt with Emmett Selk a lot more than we did with Amric.
True.
Like,
you had a dinner with Amric. You could have had just fucking 5,000 photos.
Well, Harv.
I mean, damn. Now that I think about it, we didn't have dinner with Emmett. Kind of sucks. Yoshi P, what the fuck, bro?
No, I really like his character. I think even without knowing the results of the end of the expansion, I feel like even though he's very flamboyant and he is very showboaty as well, he loves to have his monologues, but someone who's been essentially alive for a very, very long time obviously feels the need, or at least in his part, that he needs to have this option or this opportunity. But I always kind of liked his character because you could kind of tell that like he could be like the typical evil person and then be like, peace out, I'm just going to take out everybody, like sayonara. But he wanted to, at least from our perspective, he wanted to observe and be a part of it and be able to interact with us and see how we would react to things like certain missions and killing specific light wardens and see how he responded to absorbing all these light wardens. Was he upset? Sure. But I don't know. There was definitely something there that it didn't scream like I'm an evil person, or not so much I'm an evil person, but more on the lines of like my intentions are selfish in a way. And that might sound weird, but it seems like he always had like
I would put it
Yeah.
more. I would put it more like his intentions are selfless, but the way he's doing it is selfish.
Yeah.
oh, for sure.
But you're
Yeah.
100% right. His intentions are selfish, but it's not anything we wouldn't do ourselves
Yeah.
if the roles were reversed. That's what makes him kind of so. That's what makes his kind of selfishness so like, fuck. I can't really blame you for what you're doing.
Yeah. The amount of screen time he gets is so good because it fleshes him out as a character so much better than any other villain that I think we've went through. More than Nidhogg, more than Thornton for sure, more than I guess Xenos at the time. Yusuyu, I would say she was fleshed out pretty well for the most part.
Yeah.
Especially
Mhm.
after Stormblood ended, because then you kind of get a more glimpse of like who she is and where she comes from and stuff. But one of my favorite cutscenes is I think it's after Cattell Ravel. I think it's that, or the Malakal as well, where you find out that Hydaelyn and Zodiark are primals, and him going through that whole story. Because like that's a turning point. Because up until then, we always thought that they were gods. We always thought that Hydaelyn and Zodiark were gods that fought each other. And it was just like one of those things where that's why you had to keep the balance. No, they're actual primals. So when you pray to the light, when you pray to the dark, it brings those primals out like it does any other primal. And knowing that they have to have their checks and balances for the two is a huge thing. And then also him saving Y'shtola, so like trying to get him onto our side kind of type thing, or he wants to be on our side. Then seeing him shoot the Crystal Exarch in the back when the Crystal Exarch was about to sacrifice himself in his way to send us back.
I thought he was saving us from light poisoning.
He was, but the only way he could send us back was to extract the light and use that power to take us back. Or take, everybody else back into their
Everyone
bodies.
else back.
Yeah. And then he would have died at that point. Yeah, and then seeing Embasel come in and shoot him in the back.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments that's halfway, you're just kind of like, fuck yeah. But then you're like, no, this guy's the bad guy.
Yeah. he given Emmett up to that point, I don't think even after, now that I think about it, lied to us once, right? He was always kind of very truthful. He said literally everything that was supposed to be said, and everything that he said, at least up to this point where we are in the story, is true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which made him kind of lovable.
He kind of brought to light the Crystal Exarch lying to us. Because we didn't know that the entire plan that the Crystal Exarch had was, I'm going to kill myself. Like, once the Warrior of Light fixes everything here, I'm killing myself and you all get to go home. And so I feel like, and might be just me thinking or like big braining it, but I think it's more in the lines of like the way that, yeah, in the end of the day, yeah, he did stab the Crystal Exarch. One, he lived. And he got to continue. So positives for him. I'm just saying.
This guy shot me, but I lived, so I'm going to forgive him.
Fee brings up a very good point, though. And I was thinking about this the other day. And it was, yes, he shoots the Crystal Exarch, right? But it's not a headshot. It's not a kill. Well, that's the thing. Well, hear me out on this. It's not a headshot. Afterward, he looks at us, right? And he says, well, if you I don't know if he says it word for word, but he's basically saying, if you are who I think you are, this light isn't going to be shit. Because he's already kind of suspecting who we are before. He says a throwaway line, just like, yeah, but you wouldn't remember type deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's obviously interested in us for a reason, other than the fact that we are just Ascian killers, right? And it seems like if Emmett was there, which he was, and he lets the Exarch do what he has to do, one, he never gets his answer, and two, everything that happens here, it just ends. It's over. You know what I mean? Like this whole experiment's over right there and then. It doesn't, like, personally, I don't think he thought he was going to kill the Exarch. Like, he says it later on in the fight, like, I'm surprised you're still standing, but it doesn't say, like, I killed you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He takes him with him
He
because he knows it's a...
Yeah, he kind of puts him, he sidelines him in a way.
Yeah, he wounds him, but he doesn't kill him. He even takes him with him. You know what I mean? He could have just killed him right there and then called it a day if he really wanted to kill him, right?
Yeah,
That's true. So
but
this
yeah.
is why Emmett Selk is not completely evil, and so we need to respect the fact that he could have done a lot worse.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
Thank you. Welcome to my TED Talk.
After that, we go to the Tempest, and we find the city, the Forgotten City, which is
Yes.
a beautiful, beautiful city that they made. Which just
yeah.
doesn't get enough love, I feel, because like it's not really, like
There's
nobody
nothing
really
there.
goes there. Yeah, nobody really goes
There's
there.
nothing there.
Yeah,
I think there's a quest there, and that's about it.
yeah. But
Maybe like a dungeon.
we get a big story beat there that the convocation of the 14, which are the 14 unsundered Asians, all voted to either summon Zodiarch or not, right? Which are the 14, Emmett Selk, Elidibus, La Brea, and then there's other ones as well.
Yeah.
And I think this is also the part that we find out that we're part of the 14. That we find out that we are the 14th one that objected to summoning Zodiarch.
So we don't find that out until the post.
I thought we find that
through the thing. Because remember, we get the spoilers for the post, but we'll talk about it again anyway, so it's fine. We don't find that out until we get the soul crystal that Emmett Selk made. And he says, like, you know, yours is of the 14th seat, the seat of Azem.
Yeah. I guess, because I know when we actually fight after the amazing dungeon of Amarot, when we finally go to the final days of Amarot, which is a fucking amazing dungeon that we go through. He sees us back then.
Yeah.
For a glimpse.
Yeah, he already kind of suspected it before, and I think that's kind of a shock to him when he sees that, because that's our first clue to who we are.
Yeah,
I believe, right? It's the first time we see ourselves, or he sees us as who we were before all of this. Again, we'll probably talk more about that during post and stuff like that. But yeah, it's such a cool moment because it leaves you wondering, just like, because you can kind of infer it, obviously, right? Like from a hippopotamus. I don't remember his name. Yeah, there you go. Hyphlodias talks to you about it. He says literally, "Hello, my new old friend," I believe is the line.
Yeah.
So you kind of already infer that, like, you know, I have history here, so I must have been here at some point, but it's not really set in stone until like. But the Emmett Selk thing is definitely a nice little like nod and clue to, because he's like, what the hell? It makes that, honestly, now that we know things post Shadowbringers, it makes that scene a lot more sad.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Seems so sad
because he knows, right? He knows what's going to be happening. But one of the most sorry, Free.
I was just gonna say, there is a conversation that you have with Hythlodias where I have a screenshot of this, by the way. He says, your connection is hardly a coincidence. In our time, the two of you were one. The color of your souls tells the tale. And so it kind of hints that we were a part of that.
Oh, he's talking about Ardbert. The two of you were one.
No, he's talking about you and yourself back then. That you two are, your soul is very similar to the one that was back then. So
okay. I thought you might have been talking about Ardbert, because Ardbert's just another piece of the unsundered soul.
No,
That
he
just kind of broke apart.
Yeah, he's more talking about like you're a familiar. Like I've seen your soul before.
okay.
Like you have a very familiar soul.
And then he says, then they say, after, and it was almost like at the end where he says, "This is just the kind of fate I might expect from such one as she," or if you're playing a male character, it says he. Surely Emmett Selk has recognized a hint of her or him, depending on who you're playing, in you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of hints that Emmett Selk sees the 14th in you.
Yeah. That's why I think he's so interested in us later on. Because at first he shows up and he's kind of just like, "Oh, the Scions, you guys are a bunch of dicks." And then like kind of more hyper focuses on us. And like he has an expectation for us. Like not necessarily an expectation of somebody who's killed his friends. More of just like, I know what you're capable of. Like really capable of. And so if you are who I think you are, and my suspicions are correct, this whole light thing that's going on, the light sickness, shouldn't be anything to you.
Yeah. Then after that, we have this amazing moment with Ardbert. Fucking axe comes down, the Shadowbringers music starts playing, and you're just like, "Oh fuck, here we go. Here we go."
Everybody is basically dead.
Yeah. Or hurt.
Yeah, or mortally wounded.
Yeah. And this is where you challenge, and then we find out that he is Hades.
Yeah, he gives another hint there too, actually, to who you are as well. He says like, "I am Hades, something. I will bring our brethren back from their slumber." He says our brethren.
Yeah.
Hinting that like once again, you and him are connected in some kind of way.
In some sort of way. Yeah, because in that cutscene, he finds like he sees you as you were back then, right? Because he's like, "It cannot be," and then he sees you, and it's like, "Oh shit!" And I think that's what kind of puts 2 and 2 together at that point.
Yeah. Like Elidibus does the same thing too, where he says something very similar, but he doesn't know who you are, so he says it like my brethren or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My people.
Yeah. He doesn't see it till 5.3, but we'll get into that once we get into that. Then we do an awesome fight, a great fight that was with Emmett Selk and Hades. Amazing fight. And then at the end, you finally strike him down, and then his last line is, "Remember us. Remember we once lived."
Yeah,
and then
which hits so hard.
Yeah.
Now that we know certain things.
Yeah. Because like he, I think that's also a affirmation for him that this is not all bad. Like his adventure, his duty is over.
Yeah.
And that is also the first time he actually stands straight up. Because he's always hunching. I just noticed that today. That he actually is like full up.
That's his pure Asian form. You know what I mean? His tallness. Yeah, it's such a touching moment because it's that smile that always gets me. That like final little like smile that he does right before he fades away. I always look at it like in a way he kind of looks at us knowing who we are at that point. More likely at 100% knowing who we are at that point, right? And he kind of smiles knowing that, yeah, I kind of failed to bring back our brethren, but through you, I now know that our brethren live on. Our people have lived on through you. Even though you're not the same person I knew, life still goes on.
Yeah.
And it's that final kind of like relief that, you know, we will be remembered and we will carry on. And then before he fades away, and then I almost cry every time.
Yeah, and then you get the scene. Yeah, then you get the scene with Grahatia when you finally tell him Graha that he cries, and I'm sitting there like fucking like a mess as well. Oh, so good. And then that is credits after that. That's the reason why I did it this way for this podcast is because 1, it's been a while since we went through this story.
Oh yeah.
And 2, I wanted to hit the main beats because I want to talk to you each. Like, I want to talk to you guys about the main beats of the story and how it felt and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, Fee, what'd you think of Emmett?
I miss him. Yeah, if they do not bring him back for Endwalker, I riot. We brought freaking Xenos back?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Emmett's gonna be back, but he is like, I think he'll be the voiceover for the expansion. I legit do think he's gonna be the VO. You know, when they have like those VOs,
they bring him back because we already see
he's dead.
they can bring... excuse me. We've brought Yasholta back way too many times to not bring back other people.
Okay, first
Yasholta's been in the Rift,
and second,
yeah,
she's been in the Aether. Right?
Yeah, she never technically died. I do wonder that. I wonder if you could just gather all the souls of the Asians and then like just create a super Asian.
Yeah, or as we've seen, a lot of other people have been super dead, like Xenos.
That is true.
And see where he is.
Yeah, but he's not an Asian. What? Emmett is dead. Emmett is dead. Just like La Habrea is dead. Yeah, that's what it is.
I do not accept it.
I mean, you're gonna be very disappointed. I hope I'm wrong.
I'm really
honestly,
how they could
I
bring
hope
him back.
I'm wrong, but I think we're gonna see Emmett Selk in Endwalker for sure. But I think it's gonna be more of like a flashback than anything else.
I hope we can come back to this podcast and I'll remember this.
All right, set the stage. How does Emmett come back?
He's like, "What's up, guys? I just had to take a vacation."
I don't think he's gonna go back and say I'm gonna take a vacation.
No, he's like, I was on a vacation.
No.
He pulled a Loki on us. We didn't really kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like it might be in a like him coming back is not as specifically like an Asian, because I feel like or some type of character like him, like we saw with the Crystal Zodiac and stuff like that, having some sort of alternate and how we're going to continue on with the story, because apparently they plan on playing like continuing this game for another decade, if not more.
Yeah.
So what the fuck are they doing after Endwalker? Oh, I wonder. Bringing back Emmett Selk.
But the Asian story is going to be over.
Just because the Asian storyline is over doesn't mean that the Asians don't exist. Like the person or like that being doesn't exist anymore.
He gets resurrected into one of those creepy looking fucking goblin things.
This is where I really hope once Endwalker is over, we put to bed the Asian story completely. Like, just get rid of it now. We're done.
But we need to have an Asian on our team. Like it's like Fast and Furious, you know what I mean? So we could probably fucking bring back Emmett Selk. He'll be on the team. We know Xenos. We know we're not killing Xenos. Come on.
What, in Endwalker?
No, we're not killing
No,
Xenos.
we're killing. No, Xenos is going down.
Xenos is going to get. Listen here, okay? Mark my words. Xenos, we're gonna find. There's gonna be a separate villain. Xenos is gonna find the way of the Force. We're gonna have like a little duel or something like that, but it's not gonna be to the death. And he's gonna be fucking assimilated into our found family because he obviously wants to be part of our family. There's no look at that man. He's so obsessed with us. He wants to be part of the family. I mean, he hates his dad. He wants to
kill his dad.
Part of the cool crew.
I think that's the end of ShadowBringers, right? He kills his dad.
Yeah. He's just like straight up like I'm sick of your shit, and then kills his dad.
By the way, Gaius and Estinian on a buddy cop adventure to destroy Black Rose.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, they succeed, right? I can't remember.
No.
So there's like no Black Rose or some shit like that.
I don't know if they do because they said there's too many facilities.
Yeah.
Or something or other. So
I do remember Estinian saying something along the lines of like, well, at least the Black Rose situation's dealt with, or some shit like that.
Yeah, maybe it
like,
is.
When
Yeah,
did you
maybe I think
that?
you're right. Yeah, yeah, because they did it through like off cutscenes kind of type thing, right?
Yeah.
But again, we can't get into the Endwalker stuff until you guys finish 5.4 to 5.55. That leads up to Endwalker itself.
I haven't even seen the trailer yet.
Yeah. So you guys are gonna have we only got 2 weeks left now, officially. Endwalker is supposed to be out tomorrow.
As of today, I'm also. Oh yeah, that's right. I was going to mention that earlier today. Endwalker was supposed to be out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now that I'm unemployed again, I'm going to be there all night, every night, just on the moon.
On the moon. Oh my god, I'm so excited. There's 6 zones we're gonna get. We know 5 of them. We don't know the 6th one yet. It's gonna be so exciting, guys. It's gonna be very exciting. But yeah, so one thing I want to ask you guys is, what's your guys' favorite dungeon / primal fight when it comes to Endwalk or when it comes to Shadowbringers base game? Frank, what's your favorite?
The last one.
Hades?
The fight where Hades, yeah. Something about that fight, I don't know what it is.
The
Maybe it's the
dying
music.
the dying grasp.
The dying gasp or dying gasp or something.
Yeah. I think it's called the dying grasp.
Just the lead up from that dungeon. Like I think I'm trying to remember how it starts because like we start from the ground and then we're going through each like version of what happened during their calamity.
Yeah, for the dungeon for Amdapor.
Yeah. And you get to see like the history of everything, and then you finally get up into the sky and into like the you see the destruction of the world like from the actual space, fighting Emmett Sulk. Then in a giant space like rock, was absolutely cool. That was some of my favorite. And then the music, obviously, it's playing the Shadowbringers theme. I'd repeat, and then switches into the Hades theme. Once again, continuing the trend from Shadowbringers that every boss is now a 2-phase.
Yeah. Which happens again once we get to 5.2 as well, or 5.3 as well.
Yeah. So it's so cool. I love the idea of 2-phase bosses. By the way, I don't know if I said this last time, but the 2-phase bosses are some of my favorite things in this game because the transformations that you get, or like the cool little cutscenes in between, absolutely insane. And this one's no exception because I think he just like stabs himself and then just like starts oozing darkness.
Man, I wish we had time to go back and do some of the older bosses because they're really, really fun to see, like the transitions and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's my favorite.
Fee, what about you?
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's in post Shadowbringers.
I'm talking about base Shadowbringers, just base.
Well, then I'm trying to think of that one. I would probably have to agree with Frank. I did enjoy the Midsummer Night's Dream dungeon as well.
Don Meg.
Just like Don Meg. That one was very, really well done. So I would probably have to stick with that one. Yeah.
I'm probably gonna say that Seed of Sacrifice is your favorite from post, where you fight the Warrior of Light. Or the dungeon right before it with the Hero's Gauntlet.
It's the one where you ride the back of
Oh, yeah, that one. So Anemis's Adner or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you fight when you're riding on Bismarck.
Yeah, because you know what? Bismarck and me are buddies now. After
in this world. Yes.
Yeah.
In the other world.
I mean,
it's on sale.
Well, he's already dead. He's died multiple times.
We shot the shit out of him.
He is deader than dead. So, yeah. But in the first, we're buddies.
Heck yes. When it comes to Shadowbringers, my favorite for 5.0 would probably have to be for a primal fight. I really like the Crown of the Immaculate, the second phase to it. I think once he transforms and he says this one thing where he's like something about, I guess this is the trial and I'll accept it and stuff like it's the way that he says it is just like, and then his wings are starting to like come out and he's got blades that kind of stick out with too as well, and you're just like, oh fuck dude, let's go. And then the music swells as well. Like,
all his dialogue is basically like him thinking like this is his, like he's the hero of the story. This is his final fight. You know what I mean? To ascend.
Yeah.
And here we are, just about to cap his ass.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Shadowbringers. In a nutshell. Only an hour and 20 minutes.
Only an hour and 20 minutes.
Only an hour and 20 minutes.
If we probably weren't so sleepy, we would probably go a lot longer.
Probably.
Honestly.
Probably. But yeah, that is all of 5.0. The next
Yeah.
podcast we're gonna be doing up to 5.3, and then after that, that is perfect timing for Endwalker to come out
Mhm.
right there. So we're gonna have to figure out when our podcast or how we're gonna do that and stuff like that as well. So how we're gonna do the story and stuff. I want to talk to you guys about that as well. How we want to do the story when it comes to Endwalker. But guys, thank you guys so much for joining for this podcast. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed going through the story again and trying just like refreshing and stuff like that. Just smacking your mic.
Just start smacking your shit.
Frank, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Twitch, Kestrel1A, where I stream Final Fantasy sometime. You can find me at Twitter, where I tweet tweets about Twitter stuff at Kestrel1A. And you can find me talking to these two lovely people as well as two other lovely people every Friday, twitch.tv/pointinprogress, where we talk about the news and what we've been playing every week. You guys should join and watch us and chat and say hi. Yeah.
Heck yes. Fee, where can people buy that? No, just kidding. Where can people buy that skull?
Shirt? Where's that Kirkland shirt at?
No, the fucking Kirkland sweater.
The Kirkland skull?
No, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me over on twitch.tv/Zeranix. I have been playing some Stadia games recently, such as Wave's Tale. I also play Final Fantasy 14 and plan on doing some other creative streams in the future, so please make sure to check that out. I am also on Speaking of Stadia, where I talk about Stadia with my two friends, Jake and Aaron, every other Tuesday or Wednesday, depending. Also, once this episode has been released, you can check me over on Yumi Capri, where I recorded an episode with Ryan Turford, where we talked about Final Fantasy 14. Which was awesome, over on the RPG Cave, so make sure to check that out. I got to talk about my history with MMOs and what I've been really excited about MMO, like specifically Final Fantasy 14 wise. And we talked about Lahi.
Lahi?
Lahi. Awesome. You can find me here at Point in Progress. You can find us record our podcast over on twitch.tv/pointinprogress every Friday. You can see all of our YouTube content that goes up on youtube.com/pointinprogress. This has been episode 8 of the Fantasy in Progress podcast, a Final Fantasy 14 podcast. You can watch it every Friday. Yes, got it right. We record every Thursday, but you can find us every Friday over on youtube.com/pointinprogress. Hit the like button, hit the sub button, share with your friends, and we're going to see you guys next week.
Yeah, tell your grandma about us. Bye.
Grandmama.
Grandma, you want to hear about Final Fantasy 14?
A critically acclaimed